Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards here, and today I'm doing a profile of the 1979 Topps set. And 30 key cards, just like other baseball profiles I've done for sets for that year that I've selected. And the 79 Topps is a set that I have a good connection with. It's likely the first year that I opened packs. Certainly the first year I remember. I didn't open a lot of packs, I opened more in 1980, but this set definitely has a connection for me. Plus, I saw a lot of it as a kid because my brother had these cards, and my cousin as well, so I was used to seeing them. And with this year, this is the first regular issue set where Topps put their name or their logo here right on the front of the card. And it probably had to do with competition forthcoming from Flair and Donruss possibly, because I know they were being challenged around that time. Certainly those sets didn't come out to 81, so maybe they just wanted to kind of get their brand name out there a little more prominently. But it's a 726 card set, and it's got these the logo lodged between the player photo and then a team colored banner. And it's got the club name, as you can see here on the bottom of the card. And I think the baseball gives it a real baseball type feel, which is kind of nice. And it's easy to look at. They got nice sharp photos on them, and I just think it really comes across pretty well, especially for a 1970s type issue. And let's just flip a card over and we'll kind of get a look at the back so you can kind of see what it looked like. Typical of a Topps back. It was the old cardboard, so it wasn't a real shiny back. You can see here it had baseball dates, what happened on this date, August 4th, 1972. And you'd have to flip it over to read it probably more easily. But Tigers shortstop Ed Brinkman played in his 72nd consecutive scoreless game. So I don't know if anybody would have got that answer. And then here is just basic information, height, weight, where they're born, statistics. And then there's a little blurb on the player. They don't have comics or anything like that on the back of these cards. But just a standard Topps type back for the time. Very nice back, easy to look at, easy to follow and read. So what we'll do now is we'll go through and we'll take a little closer examination of some of the players. Of course, the key rookie in the set is the 1979 Topps Ozzie Smith. We'll show that in a minute. But just starting off here, we got Joe Morgan. The Reds won the division that year, but ended up losing to the Pirates, who went to the World Series and, of course, won it. Got Paul Molitor, second-year card here. I really like that. Nice smile on his face with that great old Brewers helmet. Steve Carlton showing off that vintage 70s Phillies uniform that you gotta love. And then you got the great San Diego Padres jersey, those old V-neck polyester type jerseys from the 70s. The yellow and black jersey there, and then they also have the brown colors in their jerseys as well, the Padres. And there's with Dave Winfield that year, he had a 308 batting average. He had 34 home runs, and he led the National League in RBIs with 118. So this was a couple years before he went to the Yankees. And this is a great Murphy with a red pinstripe. I love the pose here. Just a great action shot. And those Braves uniforms, late 70s, are just, I think they're just very sharp looking uniform. And here he is as a catcher and a first baseman, which is interesting. I don't ever remember him as a catcher. But I know as his rookie cards, they had him in there as a catcher in 77 and the 78 card. There's Dennis Eckersley on the Red Sox. Still as a starting pitcher there, not a closer at that time. And going down to the next row, you see an All-Star card here, just like the Joe Morgan. The National League All-Stars had like the purple, as you can see here, with like the fuchsia coloring on it. Very sharp on this Dodgers card because of the bottom on the label there for the Dodgers. And then next to that, you got the MVP from that year. This was a tough card for me to get. I remember when I was putting this set together quite a while back. Hard to find this card, and when you find them, it was tough to get one centered. And I think this one's pretty well centered. I'm not a centering freak. I just like the card just to present real well. And in this case, I think this one comes across nice. And he was that year, Willie Stargell was co-MVP with Keith Hernandez. He was 39 years old at the time. He was the oldest MVP at that time. I think Bonds beat him for that now, though. And he was also the World Series MVP that year as well. He hit 400 in the World Series that year, and he had 3 home runs and 7 RBIs in the 7-game series. And on the season, he hit 281 with 32 home runs and 82 RBIs. There's Robin Yount. Great looking Tom Seaver. There's your AL strikeout leader that year, Nolan Ryan. This is his last card. Well, it's not his last card with the Angels, but his last year with the Angels. He had an 80 tops card on the Angels, but he was actually on the Astros that year. There's another great looking Padres card of the Wizard of Oz. David M. I know is a big Ozzie Smith fan. David M.'s got a great channel. Real big supporter of my channel as well. And I just want to recognize and appreciate him. And I know he's a big Ozzie fan, so this goes out to him. Thanks, David, for all your support. And here you got Don Sutton. He obviously recently passed away. He was a real classy guy. I didn't really know a ton about him, but I read a story told by Yale baseball coach Don Stupper about the 1982 World Series. And now Stupper was a rookie then for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they were facing elimination in Game 6 against the Brewers. Now Sutton was a 17-year veteran at the time, and he was still looking for his first championship. And Stupper beat him with a complete game, and the Cardinals went on to win Game 7. So he was just a classy guy, like I said, because at the end of Game 7, with the Cardinals having won the World Series, Sutton, who was on the Brewers at the time, went into the Cardinals clubhouse, and then he came over to the locker, and he shook Stupper's hand, and he said, guys were celebrating all around, and he said, this would never have happened without you. And Stupper said, that just meant the world to me. He probably doesn't even remember doing it, but that was just the kind of guy he was. So it's nice when we can lift up athletes and recognize some of the great things that they do to inspire other players. And I know for Don Sutton, he was really inspired by Sandy Koufax as well. He played a season with him, and he just said Sandy was a consummate professional. And Koufax had great things to say about Sutton. He said this guy just had nerves of steel. You know, he would get deep into counts on hitters, and he wasn't even going fastball. He was throwing curveballs just because he had so much confidence in his stuff. Just a great pitcher, he said. Very consistent pitcher as well. And, you know, I have just gotten a new appreciation for him after reading that story. I didn't really know a ton about Don Sutton, but I really like to connect with the cards. So these videos give me a chance to do that. And here's a Johnny Bench from '79. A shout out here to Ray from Philly. I know he just did a bench run. Great looking bench run, by the way. And William McCovey. There's Thurman. Of course, he died in 1979 in the plane crash. I was a little kid. I remember my mom telling us, we were on the porch, my friend and my brother and I, and she told us, and I was like, wow. I mean, he was a big deal, Thurman Munson. We were Yankee fans, and it's a really tough, sad day. Certainly, of course, for his family and the Yankees team as well, and just baseball in general. Here's a great Rod Carew card. I love this card of him in that old uniform. I love those old Twins helmets. They're some of my favorites. And this was the last card of Carew on the Twins. He was traded that season for 4 players to the Angels. So the rest of his cards were on the Angels after that. There's Carl Yaz. And he had 3,000 hits in 1979. He was also the first player to have 3,000 hits and 400 home runs in the American League. The only other player to do it since is Cal Ripken. There are some National League players who've done it, but they're the only 2 American League players. So just a great, consistent player. And shout out to Canadian collector Mike. He just did a great profile on Carl Yaz, all his Yaz cards and magazines. Great guy. There's a George Brett. This is one of my favorite cards hidden in the field. There's your American League All-Star. It was also on the Crew as well. Just a sharp-looking Brett card. That year he had over 20 home runs, 20 RBIs, and 20 home runs, 20 doubles, and 20 triples. And he was just one of, what I got here, 7 players to ever do it. The last 2 doing it were in 2007. It was Curtis Granderson and Jimmy Rollins. So it hasn't been done since then. 20 home runs, 20 doubles, 20 triples in a season. And here's Jim Palmer. He was coming off his 3 20-game win seasons in a row. And this year he only won 10 games. He had an injury-shortened season, even though the Orioles won 102 games. They ended up losing, of course, to the Pirates in the World Series in 7 games. And here's a roll. This is kind of cool. I do my sets in number order when I do these profiles. So we got 3 Expos in a row. Just happened that way. Dawson, Perez, and Gary Carter. Just it's a great trio there for the Expos. And then this is the Eddie Murray second year. And then down here you got Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt that year was first in the National League in walks, and he had 45 home runs. So it's just a great card to him. I like the coloring on that one. And then here's Pete Rose on the Reds here. And actually that year he was on the Phillies. So here's his Phillies card. This is the Burger King issue. So I got that as well for this set. Got that in a grade 8. That's just a really cool card that Burger King put out that year. I don't know what it goes for now, but I got it pretty cheap back when it was out. It wasn't valued as much as the regular Topps issue. And I love it because it's different, and it's cool because it's reflective of where he was that year. And Rose that year had his 10th 200-hit season, which is still tied for best ever with Ichiro, who tied Rose. So it's pretty impressive to have 10 200-hit seasons. And then this is Lou Brock's last regular card. He had a record breaker in 1980. He finished with 3,000 hits that year in 1979. He had 3,000 hits that year. And then you got Jim Catfish Hunter. Great looking Carlton Fisk card. He had some great cards in the 70s. He really did. And I love those old Red Sox uniforms with the red helmets. And there's this guy here, one of my favorites, Reggie Jackson. At the peak of his fame here as a big time player with the New York Yankees. Yankees didn't win the division that year. Of course, the Orioles did, and that ruined their streak of 3 straight World Series appearances from 76 to 78. So here's the whole set. One more time there. Just a great looking set. A lot of fun putting these videos together. Really enjoy sharing with the community, and just love having these kind of cards in my collection. So I do appreciate everybody's time, and hope you have a great weekend. Take care, everybody.